Hello, authors, and welcome back to Overhaul My Vlog. I am Meg Trask, and today I want to talk to you about tension in stories. Now, I don't mean specifically tension for your character. I'm actually talking about tension that we create for the reader, those things that get the reader's heart beating real fast, that get them sweaty in the hands and turning all of your pages, making sure that they want to keep reading your book. So to get started, of course, the easiest thing to do is to add a huge character conflict. Your book, if it's genre, should have, of course, the protagonist and the antagonist. So you have character A, who is sort of your hero, and character B, who is your villain. These can manifest in a lot of different ways. It can be the classic superhero, supervillain type of thing. It can be a rivalry at school, just sort of whatever your setting and your world call for. That's the simplest thing to do. And of course, that does have the added advantage of adding tension for your character as well. But that is not the biggest thing that you can do to add tension to your story. For me, the number one thing is an unexpected complication, especially if that complication causes the story to begin sooner than the character is expecting. For instance, you have someone in a fantasy book who is preparing to go on a long journey and something happens and they have to leave before they are ready. So what happens there is they have somehow not gathered all of their provisions, or they haven't prepared themselves physically or mentally for the trip, sort of whatever it is, but get them out there before they're quite ready to take the leap. Another thing that you can do to add tension to your story and for your readers is to vary the tension levels between scenes. Now, let's say you have a high action sequence and you keep on building and you keep on climbing. Eventually, it's going to level out. So instead of staying up here, what you want to do is let the story arc back down. Let something happen that gives your characters a break, that makes your story slow down, something that makes it a little bit easier and a little more relaxing, maybe even gives the reader a false sense of security until they look at how much is left of your book. Of course, the next thing that you can do is vary your sources of tension. Now, I talked about having the antagonist, protagonist sort of facing off, but there are other places that tension can come from as well. If you think about shows like The Walking Dead, the main antagonist, of course, would be the walkers until later on in the series when other big villains come along. But then there are friend characters who turn out to be maybe not the greatest people. People within the inner group who are questionable or who question your main characters. Maybe it's their leadership, maybe it's their judgment, maybe they need to do something that the rest of the group doesn't understand. So give your main character sources of tension that come from elsewhere. Or something you could do that I've actually noticed is pretty effective with something like a Korean drama, which is to showcase your story from both sides. Have, one character actively working a deception on another one and waiting for that other character to find out. It's one of my favorite things to see if it's executed well. That one is a little bit harder to pull off. So if you're not used to writing multiple POV, that is something that you will need to learn how to do before you're able to do that. Of course, the most important thing to do is to give your main character some free will, some ability to make their own decisions. I'm looking for the right word and it is just not coming to me. But make your characters do things. Make your character the active voice in the scene. So your character has made a decision, and now that decision is going to either pay off or backfire. Of course, if you are building toward the arc of your story, that decision's probably going to backfire. And so one thing that you can do is, just make them make decisions. And if you really want to amp it up, make them make decisions that maybe the reader can tell are not quite right. And things just keep getting a little bit worse as time goes on until eventually, the story breaks. You have your peak of the story, your ultimate climax moment, and then the roller coaster comes back down. Another thing, which is maybe one of my favorite sources of tension in a story, is threaten to undo character development. Have something come up where your character has been learning something. Maybe they're learning to be a better person. Maybe they're learning a new skill. Maybe they're learning how to communicate or building a bond with someone who they've had animosity with. And pluck that out of their hands. threaten to take away whatever progress they've made. So if they're learning to be a better person, have something come up, give them something that they've wanted, that they've been working toward, and test their mettle. You can do this, you can actually do this more than once. You can have them give in at an early point in the story and then have them stand up to it later on. And that does really well both for your tension and for your character development. So what do you do to build tension in your stories? I would love to know down in the comments below. Make sure that you hit this thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you next time.